Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the BG Show. So, it is finally time for me to rank all 10 MCU shows. Actually, 9, but I'm going to split Loki up into season 1 and season 2. Now that we've seen all of them, I know people are going to disagree with me, but these are just my favorite shows. I have no bias, I'm honest. Honestly, I don't even dislike any of these shows. It's just a matter of which ones I like more. I don't think any of these shows are bad. Some of them I think could use improvement, and I'll talk about that. Spoiler warning, if you have not seen these shows and don't want to know anything, I'm going to spoil pretty much all of them. So this is your official spoiler warning. Coming in at last place, Secret Invasion. This show should have been not only a movie, it should have been an entire phase. I don't know why they insisted on cramming this show in. It had potential, but considering you had talent like Samuel L. Jackson, who was arguably the face of the MCU at one point, you had Don Cheadle there. You brought in Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, who at the end of this show turns into a Super Skrull, which was super obvious, but not only that, now creates huge power scaling issues. You killed off Talos, which I actually thought was a good scene, but the show just didn't build up enough tension. World leaders being undercover, and in the back of your head, hey, it's a show, it's not really going to have that much impact. So I think the show left a lot to be desired. Coming in at 9, Miss Marvel. Now, it's not even because this is like a girl-led show or whatever. This show actually I thought was pretty solid. Had good historical elements on the partition with India and Pakistan. However, I just feel like it didn't get enough production value. It didn't really, it had very surface level stuff. It could have been like a good high school movie, a good high school show, but it didn't really go deep enough into it. This show should have been like 14 episodes, even 20. It should have been a much longer show. Kind of like a show of the week, different adventures. It was solid. I haven't seen the Marvels yet, so I can't see how she was in that. But again, just not as good as the other. Not a bad show, but just not as good as the other shows. Coming in at number 8, She-Hulk. Now, this has potentially one of my favorite endings of all of these shows. I absolutely love the ending. It was predictable that people are going to shit on the show. My problem with the show is that I don't understand how you can have CGI be so bad. That's the easiest thing. It's just money and time. There's no excuse for a studio as big as Disney, and I mean Marvel Studios and Disney, to have bad CGI. So I just thought they totally blew it. But again, I thought the ending was really, really good. Her popping out of the TV, doing that whole thing with the Disney Plus thing, I thought was really, really meta. I thought that's the kind of stuff that the MCU should be doing going forward. I don't know why people aren't even talking about this ending as much as they should be. I thought it was really, really good, and I think it really saved the show. Again, I don't like it as much as the other shows, but still good ending, and I think it's worth watching. Next, Moon Knight. Now, Moon Knight, I thought the first episode was really good. I see a lot of lists of people putting Moon Knight in their top 3. I see that Moon Knight at 3 a lot, which is crazy to me. I thought the show really, really, really gets mediocre towards the middle. I had a major problems with the portrayal of Judaism throughout the show. Not Oscar Isaac's fault. I thought he was good, but just the writing and kind of the accuracy. I thought Ethan Hawke was good. But again, the problem with the show, and I'm going to make a separate video, is when you start getting into gods and you start getting into, realms, it causes power scaling issues. Where do the gods in this show, how do they compare to, Thanos with the Infinity Stones? Are they more powerful? The Celestials from Eternals, the Watcher from What If? It's like, who's the most powerful? Do these beings even know each other? I thought the first episode was really, really strong. I thought it was one of the best episodes in the entire MCU kind of show's lexicon. But it just didn't hit enough towards the end. It got clunky. The stakes were really whatever. Scarlet Scarab, was kind of cool, but eh. So that's what I think about it. Coming in at number 6, Hawkeye. I thought Hawkeye was a solid show. Don't really have any major gripes. I think it was smart to put a Christmas theme on it. Smart to put it in NYC. I think putting Black Widow in it added some stakes. They put Echo in it. They put Kingpin in it. So it was good. I think it could have been better, though. I think it could have been a lot better. There were a lot of cool moments. One of my favorite things is when they put the Pym arrow in the bow and arrow and it got super big. Again, those are the type of Easter eggs that I want to see going forward. Some predictable parts, not a perfect show, but a good show. So I'm comfortable putting it kind of in the middle of my list here. Number five, Falcon and Winter Soldier. This show gets shit on way too much. This show I think had the most potential of any show. Um, this show is really, I feel like, the biggest extension of Endgame more than any other show because of Cap, because of who's getting the shield. This is two major Avengers in the show. Plus, you get Zemo, who was already a bad guy. And I think the John Walker stuff is super, super, super underrated. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just some white guy and he's mad, blah, blah, blah. Nah, I think it's way deeper than that. I think it's about what if a veteran, like a real soldier, actually had to replace Cap, and I think they did a really good job portraying the pressure he's under, and he's trying to be a good guy. And honestly, the two of them were kind of a dick to him, but he kind of turns good at the end, and now he's kind of like not even a bad Captain America. He's like an anti-hero Captain America. So I think this show's really solid. It misses though. It misses on some things, and it gets clunky. But I think it's still a very solid show. Coming in at number four, WandaVision. Now, WandaVision, I actually had a hard time with this. I was going to put this potentially at two because the beginning of. I remember when this show first came out during the pandemic, it was the first show. And I remember week to week how into it people was. People forget this show was a phenomenon when it came out. We were having theories. People were talking about Mephisto. We had no idea what was going on with the Hex. And it kind of sucks because at the time we didn't realize. We thought it was our first show. We were kind of. And Marvel hadn't fallen off a cliff yet. We thought that this stuff was going to be really impactful. Oh, White Vision, like, it all was kind of, we felt like was an extension of Endgame. It wasn't until later we figured out none of this was really connected at all because we saw that in Doctor Strange too. So that was a letdown. The show starts off amazing, and the ending is so bad. The ending is completely generic. My biggest gripe is it makes no sense that Doctor Strange, who's in New York City on Bleecker Street, doesn't come at the end. This is in New Jersey. He doesn't haul his ass across the GW Bridge to New Jersey. Where is he? And it turns out they actually scrapped that because they didn't want a male coming to save a female-led show, which I think is so stupid. I understand the reasoning, but you had to have Doctor Strange at least make an appearance. I thought it was crazy in a show like this. That's when the MCU shows really started to scare me because I thought it was a slam dunk. I'm like, Doctor Strange is absolutely showing up in the finale. Similar to like Luke Skywalker showing up in Mando, but they didn't do it. Coming in at number three, What If? Yeah, I mean, as someone who loves animation, this is right up my alley. I can watch these all day. I hope they do more of them, which they are. I hope Star Wars does this. It's hard to say which my favorite was. I'm going to have to go back and think about that, but there's so many things they can do. So I just thought this was really solid. I thought this was pretty much better and more interesting than any of the other shows. If you said, give me another season of this or another season than any of the shows, I would take those, except for the one I'm about to talk about. Coming in at number two, Loki Season 2. I thought it was a really good ending. As you can see from the picture, I thought this is honestly some of his best acting work, just from his facial expression. Good ending to the season. We'll see if we see him again. Not as good as Season 1. There weren't as much stakes. I know like this is stakes, but I'm talking about with Kang, there wasn't as much mystery. Who's controlling this? Who's doing that? It was just a bunch of running around the loom. But again, the show is so good, and Season 1 was so good, that just kind of going off that, and just off the acting and the writing, the dialogue, just puts it above the MCU. The set designs I love. It's kind of like Mad Men, but kind of sci-fi. So I put this as number. Coming as a number one, no surprise, Season 1 of Loki. I think one of my favorite things in the entire MCU, one of my favorite seasons of television ever. They nailed everything from the beginning to the end. The beginning starts, you have no idea what's going on. It starts off an Endgame. The stakes build, and then they nail it at the end with the introduction to Kang. This is kind of the style of a show should be. Good style, good dialogue, good CGI, a villain that matters, stakes, and then leads it into the next phase. Unfortunately, they totally ignored this for Spider-Man. I think like Willem Dafoe and Doc Ock should have been variants. The variants should have been the key to Secret Wars. They should be the key to the X-Men and everything. This show is the key to everything, and they really fucked it up. But Loki, Season 1 by far, I think is the best MCU season. So those are my rankings, guys. Comment what you think. I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but those are my honest thoughts. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.